down 1 and 2, and they're 4 wide through the corner, 5 wide, 3 wide. You knew it was going to be
80 of his family members,
over 80 family members there. They all had on these like cool Team Blaney reunion racing shirts on, and so it is cool that there was an Iowa tie to the person that won there. I mean, you don't really see that at a lot of these tracks. I mean, every once in a while, but I hope that they come back. I hope this.
Do I.
This was just a really big stepping stone, I think, for NASCAR, where they're showing that these next-gen cars on small tracks are probably the best racing they're going to have with them.
Yeah, that's something that NASCAR's really and NASCAR 100% deserves this beating that they've taken, because since this new car's come out, the racing on tracks 1 mile and under has been absolutely atrocious. It has not been good anywhere. Now they come here, and I don't think that they had a lot of changes to the package.
No.
And there's hundreds of opinions on what they should change, and I think that a lot of it comes down to eliminate shifting, put the smaller brakes back on them. Maybe go back to the smaller tire.
Get rid of the stage racing start.
Stage racing is something that you and I agree on, that we both hate that. And then let the race cars have some horsepower, right?
More power, baby.
Yeah, that's something. But all that behind us, the Cup race was an entertaining.
It was a success.
Race where you
Great
had
success.
Cars that were better could pass the cars that weren't better. And it was just a really good deal. And I think kudos to not only Iowa Speedway, but just down the road 45 minutes or half an hour in Knoxville with the World of Outlaws, and the two events being so close, and the Saturday night race at Knoxville, and then back on the 57 Sprint Car pit area.
Gosh,
I'm telling you what,
that would be scary.
Those guys are 2 nights went down there, and then we'll swing back to
both nights at Knoxville. There was one world prize there.
Not at all.
He 5 to go, 6 to go. So
he was fast before that happened.
He was really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the 10G car showing up to a racetrack.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And then we had a little bit, at least in my eyes, we had a little bit of a surprise who was runner-up on Friday night.
Yeah, Parker Price Mellon.
Yeah, the law firm. He absolutely stunned me. I did not expect that. And I don't mean as a slight to him. I just, for the amount of cars there, that was a very strong showing, and I think that really gives people a glimpse at what the future could hold for him, because he's had some health issues and stuff like that kind of knocked him down a little bit, and he's had some really good runs on the high limit season, so it's really good to see that. And then we had Rico rounding out the podium, and he's always good.
He is. He's getting way better at Knoxville. He comes a lot more often. Like, I know he makes it a big deal to always show up to the fair races and run to get ready for nationals. And, that's really still what he's chasing at Knoxville. Is he doesn't really care about, he cares about searching for that win at the Cappy and the Nationals. So, he's a really good driver, and Parker is too. And I've known Parker for a while. I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with him, and, it's been rough for him. People just assume that, he's always going to be good because of the money that he has and stuff. And it's been trial and error with crews, with chassis, with a lot of different things. And then, with the cancer and everything. So
I think
it's good to see Parker getting everything really now.
That's just
this last year, that whole team has really come together. Parker's starting to hit on all cylinders again. So,
and I think
in the next 2 years, it's going to be a car.
I think you're right. And I think that just, really illustrates it, how much it takes the total package, right?
It's a lot.
It wasn't like he forgot how to drive, right? It's not like they were getting engines that ran on 6 cylinders, or, they were getting the wrong tires or whatever. They had all the pieces. It just takes some time to get them all in the right, arguably the most successful sprint car, of the year. And that stuff. So that's a good recap of Friday night. How'd Saturday night go?
Well, honestly, I'm I am shocked by this, and I don't care.
Only because it was a big track.
Only because it was a big track. He hasn't ran Knoxville more than a handful of times.
Right.
And he beat arguably the two of the greatest sprint car racers. And normally when they were going through a top 3 podium, they're either first or second. And Corey Day racing, and Jason, again, arguably one of the greatest sprint car racers.
Couple-time World of Outlaw champion, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Corey Day picking up a win, Donnie Schatz second, bridesmaids again for him, and then Kyle Larson rounding out the podium. So, Corey's a great young driver, and again, arguably probably one of the best guys helping him, Jason Myers. I mean,
it's a pretty.
He's got a really
conversation.
bright future.
And what we mean for those of you listening or watching at home is Knoxville being such a big racetrack. Corey kind of grew up running little bull rings in the small tracks.
In California racing is different.
So out there it's quite a bit smaller, typically racetrack, and it just takes a different type of. And Dustin alluded to this earlier, even in the stock cars and hobby stocks and modifieds and stuff, it just takes a different. It takes a different set of skills, or you need to apply your skills differently to be fast on the bigger track, and I think we saw that a little bit down in Kansas or Missouri when he had a good run with High Limit down there, and then he comes to Knoxville and makes it clicks that one right off. So now, as far as most of the sprint car guys, what do they got coming up this weekend?
They have Huset's.
So High Limit's off for a week or two?
High Limits is off for a week. This is a really big deal. The total purse between 4 days at Huset's is $800,000, or 4 races, $800,000 purse for
and
sprint car. That's
Saturday night pays what to win?
$250,000.
Right. So $250,000 to win the race Saturday night. I just cannot hardly wrap my head around.
I would throw a slide job on my mom, a dirty one, for $250,000. Just FYI.
You
can't tell me you wouldn't.
You heard it here first,
you
folks.
Can't
so
tell me what.
and Houston's is an amazing facility.
I've never been there. I'd love to go.
Yeah, it's.
Anyone wants to buy me some tickets?
Hey, there you go. Maybe head there this weekend. So. So that's kind of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
What happened this weekend in the late model world?
Well, real quick, I feel bad. Dustin's been over by himself. Do you watch a lot of sprint car racing, Dustin? I guess I haven't got to ask you that.
He's too busy racing everywhere.
Not a lot. I'm too busy with my own stuff.
Well, that's true. Would you ever drive a sprint car if someone came to you and said, We're funding the whole thing. We're doing whatever. We want you in the car. Would you go in a sprint car?
I'd drive anything as long as it's safe.
Good answer.
Good answer. Would you drive a sprint car?
You know what? I think I outgrew the physical limitations of me getting in a sprint car when I was about 14, based on how big most sprint car drivers are.
Okay, so then let's backpedal a little bit here.
But if there was a sprint car that I could fit in, you're darn right.
Right.
I think,
or just anything that has more fenders.
Yeah, I think that the non-wing cars just make for better racing.
I can't argue.
More passing, cars coming from deeper in the pack. But that's not to say I don't appreciate the wing cars. I just think that the non-wing is more exciting to me. But that's not to say that the wing cars aren't exciting. It's just my preference,
Absolutely. Okay, so now we'll get back on topic, and then we can all talk about this, because this is late model racing, which I know you do like.
I like that.
And I know you like late
Oh,
model
yeah.
racing
Yeah,
too.
dirt late model racing is pretty cool.
It is. They had the Mountain Moonshine Classic at Smoky Mountain Speedway with the Lucas Oil Late Model Series.
Yes, $50,000 to win show.
$50,000 to win. And who other to win that one than big, sexy Brandon Overton getting it done. I mean, that guy is large and very in charge. I mean, if we want to talk about probably one of the more prominent names in the last probably 3 years in late model racing, it's hard to – I mean, when we go back to 2022, I mean, Brandon Overton.
He won
basically
everything that year.
Owned
Yeah.
late model racing as a whole. So
Yeah, he did, and if I'm not mistaken, did Gustin run second in the other Wells Infinity chassis? So Wells is building their own chassis, and I think that
Yes.
this is one of the first, or maybe the first really big win that they've got with that. Wells,
look out, Longhorn.
yeah, Wells used to be the place to go for Longhorn stuff, and
Yeah.
then they kind of came up with their own deal this year. So that's really cool to see that those guys have got that going. And then this weekend they had a little bit north up into, is it up into Pennsylvania? Where's
Yeah,
where-
Lernerville.
Lernerville. Okay,
Yep,
another
Lernerville.
racetrack that races really good for those cars.
Yes, very well.
And then
That's probably one of my favorite places to watch them. I feel like Lernerville, for some reason, it's normally known as a very predominant sprint car track,
Yep.
and it does put on good sprint car racing. But late models in Pennsylvania, for some reason, I think it's better watching than really anywhere else because Port Royal,
has a very
Oh.
strong open late model weekly show.
fantastic.
Yep.
You have Port Royal, and then you have Lernerville, which are probably the two most prominent ones, and both of those tracks just absolutely kill it. I mean, I would love to go to a late model race at Port Royal, so if anyone wants to send me there,
Yes,
get a hold of me later, please.
Safe is openly asking for donations for his
Any-
race viewing travels. So
Yes.
so
send the check.
One thing that we forgot to talk about was earlier last week, before the sprint cars rolled into Knoxville, we had a little event over in Nebraska with
I would say probably the biggest event that's ever happened in Nebraska since their football team is so bad.
he said it, folks.
I did.
Now I am a Hawkeye fan like Steve. However,
Steve's over there shaking his head like,
Yeah.
he said it.
he loves it. He loves
It's
it.
all right.
So the high limit cars were at Eagle.
Yes,
and it was
sold
another $50,000+ payout, right?
It was 55,555 because I'm going to mess it up if I try to go in, say it all how it should be. It was going to be 50,000, and then Durst Manufacturing, Durst Inc. threw in another $5,555.
So they made it 55,555
Yes.
to win. And who potentially won that?
Mr. Undefeated at Eagle.
Ah,
I think his nickname might be Young Money.
yes.
I think it's a guy that we seem to bring up quite a bit when we talk about
We may have talked
all
about it.
forms of racing.
So Kyle
You know
Larson
what? We
wins.
should just get him into a drag car and see how he does there at this point. I mean,
I don't think
we
that
might
he
as
wouldn't be
well.
successful. I think he'd do
you think
great.
he could win in a drag car?
Me?
Kyle Larson.
Oh, I don't know. Probably that guy can win in anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
I
So
think you should get him to run a hobby stock one night for you.
there you go. There you go.
Oh, there we
Bring
go.
him down. He can wheel it.
There we
There
go.
you go.
We're gonna message him and be like, "Hey, listen, we got a car. We'll let him run James's car at Oski on a Wednesday
We
night
already
to go
tried
after
that.
the bounty."
We already tried to get him to come down and run it at Super Nationals. He never messaged back.
Oh, really?
Okay, so if anyone
Need
knows,
someone closer to him.
if anyone out there knows Kyle better than any of us,
Which-
we have
which
some
shouldn't be
open
hard.
cars available for Super Nat. That would be amazing to see him run a
Yeah, it
stock
would
car
be.
at Super
It
Nationals.
would be.
Oh, I'd take it there.
Yeah, you would. There we go. The GOAT of stock car racing in Southeast Iowa, taking the GOAT of NASCAR,
Literally
and
everything
else, and bringing him to the Super Nationals.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. So,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty good recap on the last week or so of racing.
I would say so. We have some big races coming up. The three most important nights at the Southern Iowa Speedway. I say two of the three because our third one does come during our fair for the Caleb Heyman Memorial.
Yep,
That
yep.
is arguably the biggest race as far as prominence goes from a weekly racing standpoint, is what I'll call that, because we do have the Front Row Challenge, but we're not going to count that. Sorry, Terry. But from a weekly racing perspective, from the classes we run, tomorrow night, again, is our Hall of Fame induction night. that is a very big deal, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, because
Really helps bring history back alive in front of everybody, right?
Yes.
I think that Jerry, the announcer, Jerry Mackey, does a great job of having a biography of all the Hall of Fame inductees and reading that and interviewing them, and it's just a great deal. And then next week, what do we got next week? Another big
next
show.
week we have the Gary Wilson Memorial, which is tied in with the Outer Limits Truck Repair Super Late Model Show. So I want to thank my boss for sponsoring.
No doubt,
that
no
night.
doubt.
It was
You bet.
cool because late model racing to Oski was dead for quite a while. Last year we got to have him back. This year we're going to have him back again. Dust and I were kind of talking pre-race show about the late model guys and kind of how they want the track worked out, but. Last year they put on a good show and the track stayed pretty good, I think, for you guys even
the track
afterward.
was really good, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no doubt, and you're right. That's another big show. Gary, obviously, both of his boys are involved in racing now, and unfortunately we lost him here a few years ago. But super race fan.
Yes.
He didn't miss. He was here early, sat in the same spot, and just was what being a race fan is all about. So that's that's something to look forward to next week.
and again tomorrow night also the bounty still is on the 10G car and the hobby stocks. So if you have a hobby stock, come up tomorrow night and try to beat Dustin. I'd like to see that. If someone thinks they could challenge him, I kind of want to hear who thinks they're going to be able to challenge him because
Everybody that
I have a
signs in
feeling
thinks they got a
that-
shot.
yeah. But no, so yeah, fantastic race, and then also we have Columbus Junction running on Friday nights. I know that's a track you like to go down to. It has been different this year down there. Larry Richardson stepped away from promoting and doing the track work down there. How's the track been since that, Dustin? from
I've
your
only been down
POV?
there a couple of times this year so far. I've been running Lee County, and they ran their first several nights on Friday nights, and I can run both cars there, so it just made more sense to go
Right.
there. So I've only been to CJ a couple of times. It was decent. The one night it was pretty dry slick, and the other night it was more of a hammer down type racetrack. New promoter, different ways of doing stuff. Takes a while to get the track preparation figured out.
Right.
It's not
I
something
don't-
you can learn overnight.
Yeah, I don't think it's any different than any of us with a race car, right? You get a new race car, it's going to take you a few nights to sort it out, and I think that Dan and all those guys down there are just doing just that. I think that.
he's trying his best,
Yep.
and that's all you can ask out of him.
Yep.
I mean, he's learning as he goes.
Yep. And he owns it when he misses it.
Yep.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
he'll
make
straight
it.
tell you on the race seat
Yep.
if he messes up, he'll admit it.
Yep. He doesn't blame 50,000 other things. He just says, "Hey, I'm learning. I messed it up.
Yep.
We'll make it as good as we can, and I'll do better next week." And that's really all you can ask for.
Absolutely, that's the way to do it. I mean, it's nice to know we have promoters out there that are honest still, stuff like that.
Yep. No doubt.
And
No doubt.
no racing at Knoxville this weekend.
Nope. Marshalltown is running Friday night though.
Yep, Marshalltown.
And then Saturday night in the area, we've got Burlington 34 Raceway and
Yep.
Lee County down in Donaldson. They're fairly close together, but
Yes.
running on the same nights.
yeah, so I mean, a lot of good racing, and if you can't go, something like that, Flow Racing has a bunch of stuff on it. If you're wanting to watch Husitz, it is going to be on Dirt Vision.
Is it okay?
It's going to be on Dirt Vision because they're calling that a World of Outlaw race.
Ah,
So-
understood. Show up points or something like that for it, and
Yep, show
Go
up
from
points for
there.
the drivers, but
well, cool.
yeah, so a lot of good racing.
Coming down to the end of the show here,
Yes.
I've got to ask the question
Oh, no.
that everyone at home is asking as well. Does Safe have the juice for tonight?
Okay, I have one piece of juice.
Yes, I knew he wouldn't let us down, folks.
One piece of juice. I'm not really surprised this happened. There had been rumors stirring in the dirt car side of. So World Outlaws has 3 divisions. They have sprint cars were late models. Then they have the Super Dirt Car Series, which is your big block modified racing.
Yep. Northeast center steer
Yes.
modifieds. Yep.
That's more prominent up in, they're more
New York,
New York
Vermont,
area.
Massachusetts, all that
Those
stuff
are
out
So-
there.
cool to watch.
They are.
They are.
You'll
They are
watch
cool.
one of them
Yeah.
in person one time.
Yeah,
I can make that
Those
happen.
things get with it.
yeah, they definitely do, and I know that they're real popular in the kids that do the iRacing and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
really cool.
Super hard to do.
Yeah, very hard to do,
Very
but
hard.
I know Cole and a lot of his buddies they like running those
Yeah.
center steer modifieds on the iRacing stuff.
Yeah,
So
I don't do the iRacing.
I do.
No, I don't
No,
play
I-
video games.
I can't feel it. I can't do it.
I
So
can't.
Sure, it's
Yeah.
hard.
I tell Dylan and all them guys that's child's play.
So they announced today they were going to let people groove. They're going to let the drivers groove their tires, and that caused quite a big uproar. Again, kind of like a whole NASCAR deal. They really just shot themselves in the foot that
Yeah,
they had already
and-
previously shot and made the mistake again. So
I guess I don't fully understand the whole situation as far as were the competitors wanting that or not
Yes,
wanting
they'd
that? And
so they were allowed to groove them there for a while, and then they stopped because of tire issues and stuff. And then Hoosier said you don't need to regroove them, don't regroove them, different compound, yada yada yada. And then you had Stuart Friesen and some guys really pushing to let them groove it, and they said no, we're not going to allow it. And then you could only groove a certain tire on your car. Well, now they've made it. They're finally like, you know what? We're tired of everyone complaining, and now we're going to let it go. And they're like, you wait until like the middle or kind of towards the end of our season to allow this. Like, what are we doing? And then they're like, oh, well, you have to regroove them because now there's going to be a shortage on tires. So it's really turned into this whole mess. They backed themselves into a really bad corner. Fortunately, Hoosier's been really good at putting themselves in a bad corner here. It kind of seems with a lot of stuff. So
yeah, and I think that there are certainly, like anything else, there's
growing pains.
potential issues, with
Yeah.
anything that's manufactured. I got to be honest though, I also think that a lot of the times when you see tire issues, that it's competitor inflicted. I just can't help but feel that. That's not to say Hoosier doesn't ever make a mistake, because they certainly do. It's interesting on this. The only other piece of juice, though, that I had as well was the high limit technical inspector was let go last week.
True.
I don't know the full story there. I know there was some controversy with Brad Sweet after he owns the series and won a race, and maybe they didn't look at the scales. But from everything I know, the guy is like a super hard worker, straight shooter guy. So I'm not sure what all happened there. Maybe you can find some info out and let us know next week.
Again, from the whispers I heard is we did have the incident at the scales where Brad rolled across. That guy didn't look at it. One of Brad's crew guys did. Said it was fine. He's like, okay, well, if you say it's fine, that's fine.
And in that race, it was a not long race. It wasn't extended yellows. There wasn't any, it wasn't a race where anybody would be even close on weight. So they I thought it was kind of water under the bridge, but
no, I
maybe
know
not.
from what I was told there were a lot of team owners, and one prominently more than another, and I can't blame him because they've had some issues, which is Kevin Swindell. Because then last year we had the whole racing deal with Rico and Christopher Bell when they got together.
Yeah, that's right. The yellow flag deal at
Lernerville, I think. No, it wasn't Lernerville. It was somewhere
wasn't
out that
down
way,
by St.
though.
Louis. I was thinking that was down at Gundaker's Tri-City Speedway in Missouri. But anyway.
Doesn't matter. So,
Yeah,
there was that whole incident, and then Kevin's been pretty vocal, and he's trying to help out. And so I know him and some other owners got together, and they talked to Brad and Kyle about the whole scale situation, and they kind of came to a gentleman's agreement where Brad was probably going to be in weight. But you know, they need to really start flexing some muscles and showing, like, you know, we're striving to do better
Yeah.
because we don't want this to happen again. So I heard that
Well,
was kind of a whole.
Yeah, I hate to
Yeah.
see somebody lose a job over one situation that probably wasn't really a situation, but
Right.
But there could be more to it, I guess, too. I don't fully know.
That's what I had heard from some fairly good sources on
Good.
situations. So, yeah, who knows everything that exactly transpired, though. So that's what I know on that front.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well,
so
that was just kind of some breaking news that I'd heard over the weekend. So
and then DGR Racing, Dennis Gainley, he has a sprint car team. Their social media team accidentally posted that they fired Tyler Swank as their crew chief.
oh wow,
And then Tyler comments and he's like, I got fired? And apparently someone wrote the post wrong and they didn't actually fire him. So that was pretty hilarious. He's like, I don't have a job. And Dennis is like, oh, no, you do it. He's like, apparently I don't. This all happened in the Facebook comments too, which is the best place for that. So I grabbed the popcorn and sat back. So
yeah, no doubt.
anyway,
no
and
doubt.
then one other thing real quick. It was really cool at the Xfinity race. Jeff Hoker Trucking.
Yes.
He's very prominent with sponsoring
Huge
a
racing
lot of
supporter.
racing, helps
Yep.
out with Davenport. He sponsored a whole car for that event. So shout out to Jeff and his crew for doing something and showing how cool us Iowans are and how deep we care about
no
racing.
Doubt.
So
No doubt. He's one in a million, and he helps out a lot of people at a lot of different levels, and probably helps out way more people than any of us truly actually know about. And he's just a huge fan. So
absolutely. Well, race fans, again, you have a track to go to this week. Make sure you get your butts in the stands, and hopefully
If
we
Mother
see
Nature allows, right?
Yeah, so hopefully we can see everyone tomorrow night at the Southern Iowa Speedway. Dustin, again, thank you for coming on and talking with us. Curtis, great to have you back this week.
Yep. Glad to be here.
So, all right, folks, that's going to conclude TNT, the Tuesday night tune-up, and we will see you all next week. Good night.
Again, we do thank Dustin Griffiths for joining us this evening. And again, Bailey Fannebaker was our prize winner of the Southern Iowa Speedway tickets. I've got a juice item.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
I heard through the rumor mill that this weekend is Safe Grafke's birthday. Possible, and that includes Chris Minter at Milo's Tree Service. That also includes Sinclair Napa. We thank James Family Greenhouse in Sigourney. We've got Christy Tarr at American Family Insurance here in Oskaloosa. And then the Sigourney Trifecta, Sigourney Body Shop, is one of our sponsors, along with Sigourney Motors and then also Sigourney Tree Care. So we thank all of our sponsors. We thank Safe and Curtis for always hanging out and being our hosts here on the Tuesday Night Tune-Up. We'll see you next Tuesday here on Steve Shetler Media.